Hey guys, welcome to the Heart of David. Hope you guys are doing well today. I want to talk about two subjects today, and the first is the Hegelian Dialect of the United States, and the second is staying well, keeping healthy, because in this world with everything and all the distractions and everything, it's probably the best choice that you could make aside from believing in Jesus Christ to keep a healthy life, and I'll get into that. So, and I feel I don't know, man, I just feel better with my glasses for some reason. I'm so used to them now. I try not to put them on while I'm doing this, but I don't know. I don't know, man. It's like I feel naked without them. I can see clearer close up, and so when I'm looking at that, it looks blurry, but like far distance is okay. But I'm trying to look like a nerd on here. So the Hegelian dialect, I don't hear many people talking about this, and the reason I decided to say it today is because I was listening to a video just yesterday about someone who was going in depth about this. And you might say, what does this have to do with Jesus Christ and all those things? Well, it has to do with the evil that comes before it and the things that we see in this world. And I just have an interest in this in general. If you live in the United States, then most likely you saw this maybe you didn't see it the way that someone living outside the States. I mean, I'm in Canada, so we're, very close. We see a lot of the same stuff. I don't know, like, maybe algorithms are set that way and stuff, but generally we just live beside each other, right? And, so, just give me 1 second. Stomach, man. I don't know what you saw happen in the last number of years, but I saw something really evil happen, and it's worth talking about. It definitely is worth talking about. And it has to do with, listen, I don't know if you believe that Donald Trump is the Antichrist of the Bible, and that's it's not insignificant to this video, but it's important. So whether or not you do believe that or not, just what I'm saying still applies. But for me, someone who does believe he is, it gives even more credence to this actually being a biblical topic. So before 2020, we can't say that things were really normal, but they were. There was the time from the time that Trump started campaigning and got into office and stuff. Yes, let's just say it from there. A lot of stuff changed in this world. So he gets into office, and we know that they hated him after a certain point. And when they won, the beast that is not. So Biden comes in, right? Trump pretends that well, I guess he did pretty well with that administration. He did. Prices were low, and you can't really tell with the things that he says because he throws in lies with truth. So, but when they got into office, when the Biden administration got into office, you had a very, very different United States. A United States that shook the world by what appeared to be pure incompetency. Joe Biden had been in office for what, 40 some years, almost 50 years, or I don't know, 40, 50 years. Let's just call it 40. So he was no underdog. You hear all those things about all the bribes, and they found the payments that were given to them by the Ukraine and by China, and the laptop and all these things. So it starts with this Afghanistan thing, where they don't even plan ahead, and they just pull people out, and they leave people dangerously with the Taliban. Just think about that. That was the worst withdrawal probably in all of human history of an advanced nation. That never had to happen. It wasn't 80 billion. It was 8 billion, 8 to 10 billion dollars they left. I don't know if they left Black Hawk helicopters, but they left some tanks and some armored vehicles and $8 billion. Just think of that in equipment. That's a lot of equipment. Just left it to them. There was some stuff they really couldn't do anything with, but you never leave that stuff to the enemy. And what was their excuse? They said that. So Biden said it would cost more to ship it back than what it's worth, but it wasn't even true. It's not true. There's many things you could have done with that. It was worth a lot of money. That was one of the first steps that you see of their incompetency. Let's think of the two other ones. There were many. They were almost incalculable. There were so many. Can you remember in Pennsylvania, the train that was on fire, and it had all those carcinogens that were really deadly. And what did they do? Instead of letting it go up in a levee, which is just like it expands and it blows up. That would have been the most safest thing to do, to evacuate or something like that. What did they do? They dug ditches. So they had some time. Obviously they had time because they dug big ditches and they poured the chemicals in there and they burned them. They knew what they were. They knew what they were because they had to look, and they burned them. That was the worst thing that they could have ever done. So there's another one. And I heard many things about conferences about how they knew that they shouldn't have done this, but they still did. And so I'm not going to argue your debates about what is true and what's not. I saw enough of this. It was a big disaster, and there were 5,000 people in that town. And the only thing that was really helping these people were like GoFundMes, and these people were going to probably face cancer, who knows, leukemia, all those things, if they choose to stay where they are. And people can't just move. People can't just move. It's not like that. It was like a poor community. I'm not saying it was really poor, but they didn't have enough money to just pick up and move. Many of them. And you could see the responses from people, like, what are they doing? It started to become really confusing. Why are they doing this to these people? Where is FEMA? FEMA didn't come because they said, I forget what they said. It had to be a specific type of disaster to go and see it. Do you not get it? They're doing it on purpose to make people really confused. Do you think that they're really a big disaster in a large community enough? 5,000 is large enough. You don't just leave people like that in the heartland of America like that. Wow. think about their water now, and people have long forgotten about those people. Then, just think about the Hawaii disaster, of which, of course, I looked and I saw that, there were certain metal things that burned much hotter than they should have, pointing to a possible something from the sky. That's all I'll say. And they caught the laser on camera it was, I don't know, 1 or 2 nights before. They could see with an infrared, they could see a laser pointed down at Hawaii. And they were saying it was China, but anyways. I can't speak to something I don't know for sure. There were videos of people going through, and they were trying to stop these people too, taking down their videos. They would look at rims of cars and see that they melted. Something should not melt. I don't know if it's the brake drums or something like that. A car fire is not hot enough to burn a certain part, but yet they were flowing in like molten rivers, and they weren't. It wasn't as if they were in a lone parking lot, with maybe a couple other cars around them. It just didn't make sense. But it all burned down, and what they were left. It was like a joke. We're going to give you $750. We're going to give you $750 per household, and it didn't matter what happened. Remember the North Carolina, the hurricane that came through and the huge flood and down the mountains on those people? It didn't matter what it was. FEMA was not helping. This was the common theme throughout the Biden administration. It made them look completely bought off. What's going on? Why are they not answering? Why are they not doing these things? Have you forgotten because of all the things that they desensitized us with? I think you understand what I'm saying. What I believe from what I saw was it would take absolutely no heart for the government to not intercede and try to help their people from such a disaster. And even people so let's just keep it at this. This is what they did for 4 years. And they introduced ideologies and everything else. Do you know why they did this? They did this to piss you off. To piss you off. To make you angry. Why? To scream and yell for someone who will come and fix it. And who is that? The literal biblical Antichrist. Donald Trump. This was set. This was set. This is absolutely what I believe. I can never forget seeing the things that were not responded to. What about the balloon flying across the country? Remember that? Oh yeah, just let them spy on us. And when the balloon went all the way, F-22 takes it down. They're UFOs, right? They're going at 20 miles an hour. And then when it gets to the East Coast and off, oh yeah, we're not going to shoot it down because it may hit a home. It might hit a home, right? You stupid idiots. Sorry. Yeah, man. Anyone who actually fell for that, I don't mean it that way. I mean it to people who fall for things. When it got off the East Coast, they finally shot it down. And then what happened? China said, we want that back. And they put us in a place where we're like, oh, maybe we have to give it back. But they're spying on us. Yeah, they send spy balloons to other countries and stuff, but not the United States like this. Sure, maybe some have, Do you think under Donald Trump or anyone before Biden, do you think they'd ever let that happen? Of course not. Of course not. But they make you think it is. They've messed with your mind so much. So here comes the king, right? Here comes the king. That's what they did to you. To put you in a place where, well, we'll see. It's up to you to believe where we are now in the Bible. Pardon me, I got to pace. It's up to you to believe where we are in the Bible. So think about this. People are still waiting for the Antichrist. Still waiting for him. Man. Because of my esophagus disorder there, my esophageal sphincter, when I eat a piece of food, it'll get stuck or it goes down very slow. Not all the time, but just sometimes that just happens right there. That's why you see all the problems I have in my throat. So where do you think we are? Just think about this. Focus in. Start, bringing everything close together. Everything Jesus told us about to look out for in Daniel and whoever, Revelation, is all here at one time. Listen to this. I'm going to read this from over. Okay, now I can bring it over here. There's probably twice this, but because of my busyness in school, I can't write them all down. I'm going to read that in a second. The things that have happened just in July, and we're not done. I want you to think about this. Where do you think we are in biblical prophecy? People are looking out for the Antichrist, and it's right in front of them. The birth pains are here. They're getting strong. You see what the sun is doing to the earth? Every continent, like today, it's 90 degrees. It's 90 degrees, and where I live, humidity, that would probably be 105. Maybe even 110. This brutal heat. And this heat is on every single continent. The Abraham Accords, they're going to be done. There's going to be a 7-year strengthening of what's already there. You watch, it'll happen. The red heifers, whether they find one that has complete red, I believe they will push one through anyways. I do believe that they would try to do that, but there'll probably be a good one. So the birth pains are here. You see how strong they're getting. You see that there's an Abraham Accords. You see the wars around Israel. You see Apophis coming. The rock that matches what Revelation says. Three-Eye Atlas. Do you hear what I'm saying? There's a rock moving through in our galaxy that is from interstellar. The third 3 stands for the third found, and they've only found them 3 interstellar objects in the last number of years. So things are starting to move through space. Three-Eye Atlas is much different than Apophis because it's moving at 10 times the speed, or at least maybe 8 times the speed, 153,000 miles an hour. Scientists are raising the alarm that this thing is moving in strange ways, in ways that they can't even understand. It doesn't have a trail. It doesn't have. There's many strange things about it, but I can't speak. I don't know too much about. That's from God. Apophis, we know, is coming on Friday the 13th, April 13th, Friday the 13th on 2029, and if you take the 7,000-year timeline of we go from 6 to 7,000. That's the idea for the millennial kingdom of rest. And if you go 2,000 years from the time Jesus died, We're at 25. So he likely came on the scene in 25 or 27. It's matching up. It's matching up. You're going to say, oh, you're just making a guess on that, and okay. And what are all these birth pains and all these people who want to get under our skin to monitor us, to monetize us? You know exactly what I'm talking about. The golden age is here. People are all Satanists. Did you see that thing in Germany? People, the whole stadium, we love Satan. Did you see that? Go look for that. This is what's happening. So we're in that time. So you doubt me saying Donald Trump is the Antichrist? We're right here, right now. He's 80 years old. He's 80 years old. So how much time could he really have left? He could have 10 years. But it's Jared Kushner, his grandson, or sorry, his son-in-law, who is the architect of the Abraham. They're constantly saying peace and safety in many different dimensions, but it tends to be in the Middle East and the United Nations. We're here. So why is my telling you is Donald Trump is the Antichrist seems strange? They make him. You're going to say, well, the Democrats hate him and all these things, and sure they do. And it looks like he could well be, on that Epstein list. What? It's just a sign of the times. It's just a sign of the times. It will get ignored at one point when something happens on this earth. That Apophis rock is coming. It matches hail and fire mixed with blood. What is that blood? Could that be a super volcano? Could it be more than one event? What is that blood? What did John see? If there's blood, it could just be looking red. But we hear a lot about these volcanoes. You see what's happening with the sun, man? Wow. Go look at Stephen Burns. Go look at showing you all the flares that are happening. So it's here. Let's read this. I'll do one for August 2. And in the comment section, you can add to this. So I just remember around the beginning of July, China and 20 other countries said they were going to come and stop Israel. Then there were 4 earthquakes, three in Russia that were above 7, I believe. There could have been 4. Yeah, there was one in Alaska, so that's 4. Then Iceland, you see the fields there erupt? That was new. Then Naples volcano, 4.6, which means lava's coming up. Campi Flugere. You know what Campi Flugere is? It's a super volcano that is having earthquakes above 4, which indicates guaranteed there is magma coming to the surface. Then there was a Philippines volcano. Then there was the Russian volcano. Did you see it, man? It was bigger than Mount St. Helens. I saw that video. Go look at that video. It's at nighttime. Japan quake, they're waiting for a 9 or above right now. They had over 2,000 earthquakes, so we'll see there. Then there was a Las Vegas flood. Then a man drove through 30 people and was shot by someone at a nightclub or something. Just took his car, bam. That's what people are starting to do. Yesterday, or the day before, but I saw it yesterday. Guy walks into Walmart, stabs 11 people, and then a guy with a gun stopped him, not by shooting him. Then there was a Maryland flood. Then there was China flood. Many places in China flooded. Then there was huge hailstorms in China. New Mexico had 2 floods. 2 floods. Burkina. 2 floods. I wrote something in Turkey, but I don't know what that is. South Korea had 2 floods. And then Jakarta, Indonesia had a really big flood. And did you see the volcano in Indonesia? Go look at that. It looks like the end of the world. Like the size of the plume. Like, wow, man. That's just July. What do you think God is trying to tell us? He's coming. So, I'm waiting for these Abraham Accords. I'm waiting for an agreement. And it's really hard for me to look at the crime that's happening in my own country. I can see it. I can see all the lawlessness being done. We have a huge crime wave going on in Canada. It's the same in the States. You know, it's just the world falling. That's what it is. So, if you live in the States, you saw what happened to your country during the Biden administration. Was it not did that not make you angry? The things that were happening? It for me, I just couldn't understand it. But it's called the Hegelian Dialect. I saw a video that said sovereignty ended when 2020 began. And I believe it was all with Trump. If he was not here, do you think it would get worse? A lot of people think that, but I don't. If I was to look at it in another way and say, if he wasn't the biblical Antichrist, and what I'm saying is strengthened even further by Elon Musk. He's the false prophet who does miracles, who makes fire come down from heaven, who's Neuralink, which will control people's brains and thoughts. We need to think about that very heavily. And gematria, Greek gematria, equals 666. That is what we're looking out for. They've done quite a few samples now in the brain. So, you know, do you know that Neuralink, just think about it. Paralyzed people can now walk. You're going to say, how do you know that? It's very simple. They can already look and control things on a computer. So if they have prostheses that are controlled electronically or electrically, then they can walk. They just have to put the prosthesis on their missing limbs. That's all they have to do, and then they can walk. Crazy, eh? And I believe they'll be able to do that just by thinking about it. They don't have to think about each body part. It'll probably just move in unison. But or just like the way we think. It'll hit those brain centers. You know, I'm going to move a leg, turn my arm this way, that way. The miracles that he shows, and fire coming down from heaven. And he bought Twitter. The false prophet would have a very large audience, wouldn't he? He'd be a false prophet to the world. 220 million followers. And now he's making the America Party. He's Satanist. So is Donald Trump. They make their signs with their hands. Do you think it's a coincidence that they both do this? Both MAGA? Don't believe in the lies between that they split. Of course they haven't. They haven't. Because in Satanist world, MAGA. Go look at churchofsatan.com. MAGA is the highest position of the priest of the Church of Satan. You may find what I'm saying very hard to receive, but it's true. They worship Satan. Where is his AI center, Elon Musk's? In what's that place in the U.S. that he's polluting the whole town? It was the original city in Egypt, and he bought it only for that purpose. And there's a video of him and Jordan Peterson where he's laughing when they mention, fill that name in. Oh, it's on the tip of my mind. I want to say Ramses, but in any case, they came together at a very opportune time, and they both meet what the characteristics of each will be. And if you still don't believe me, go back to the time that we're in. Those peace accords, they're talking about peace and safety. Those accords are in place. Where are the men? And then people are saying, are they even, do you think they're born yet? Sorry, I just find that funny when you look at, it's not funny, but when you look at the times that we're in, sorry, it's like fading. It's the focusing of my camera, I don't know. There it is. It's actually a good camera, but when you look at the times we're in, man, where do you think these men are? When they say peace and safety, sudden destruction comes upon them like labor pains. That doesn't mean that, obviously it doesn't mean that there's going to be a sudden destruction, but it will be soon enough. Because it hasn't happened. They've been saying that for over a year. But in the Bible, that could be 2 years. It's pretty sudden in biblical terms. I can't even get to the exercise part in this because it's just too riled up about this. You've been fooled about villain and the rescuer. Villain, hero. Villain, hero. Everything you've seen since 2020 was planned to be this way.